I'm in a bit of a pickle with my in-laws right now because I decided to pack up and move in with my parents last week. And I think I had really been pushed to the brink, which is why I had to make this tough decision. My husband and I have been together for the past 5 years, and we've been married for 3 years. We've had our ups and downs, but in the past year and a half, things have been really bad. He decided to quit his job because he was just not happy with it. And that was an understandable decision. But he quit his job without having anything to fall back on, and that was a bit difficult. However, I was a working woman, so I told him that I would support him, and I really meant it because I wanted him to be happy. I knew that he did not enjoy his work, and I knew that he wanted to build something of his own. So I told him that I would support him for as long as he needed to build a business model. I thought that it would take him a couple of months to get started, but like I said, a year and a half has passed since he quit his job, and every time I asked him how much progress he's made, he just gets really irritable and keeps telling me that he can't rush things, and he says that if it's that inconvenient for me to handle the expenses, then he'll just go back to a job that he hates because that's clearly what I want. So, well, it's not been easy, and we've been fighting over this for a long time now, and things have been pretty stressful for me as well because obviously on my income alone, it's very difficult to handle all the expenses with little to no help from him, let alone supporting me financially. He's not even been supporting me emotionally, and things have been very bad in our marriage for the past couple of months, and they've only been getting worse. Recently, my sister-in-law got engaged, and that was something to be happy about. But then, a couple of weeks after her engagement party, my husband told me that he wanted me to write a check worth $50,000 because he wanted to contribute to his sister's wedding. Apparently, she had this huge, extravagant wedding planned, and his parents needed help because he did not want to dip into his own savings, since he was still planning on starting his business and wanted to save for that. He wanted me to write this check. Obviously, it was insane, and I was not going to spend that kind of money on his sister's wedding, and I was very upfront about it. He told me that he would return the money to me after his business took off, and I told him that he hadn't even started it yet, and we didn't know when that was going to be, so I was not going to take the risk. Besides, that's a huge amount of money, and it would burn a serious hole in my pocket. When I declined and I made it clear that I was not going to change my mind, he started accusing me of not having any faith in me and said that I was being selfish, and even went to the extent of calling me a stingy miser. And that was the limit for me, because for the past year and a half, I had been supporting this man. And now, just because I don't want to do something so ridiculous, like supporting his sister's insane plan of getting married so extravagantly, he thinks that I'm stingy and selfish and all of that. I just couldn't take it anymore, so instead of arguing with him, I just packed up my stuff, and even though he tried to stop me, I could not be held back. I left the house, and since then, I've been staying with my parents, and he and his family have been trying to get me to come back to him, but I honestly don't know if I want to do that. He apologized to me several times since then, and because I've not been responding to any of his phone calls, he's just been texting me and sending me emails, and so has his family. My mother-in-law, my father-in-law, and even my sister-in-law, all of them have been trying to contact me, telling me that they know that my husband messed up and I must be very upset with him. But at the end of the day, I'm his wife and we love each other, so we should try and work things out instead of just letting this go so easily, because he's miserable and he feels really bad about how he's behaved. He's been promising me that he's going to change, and he's definitely going to start taking our finances more seriously. And he's also been telling me that he's going to try his best not to let me down if I only give him a second chance. Here's the thing. I've spoken to my parents about it and they don't know if I should be giving him a second chance. And personally speaking, even I don't know about it because I think I've had it with him for the past year and a half. And now, even though I do have a soft corner for him, which is why I'm even contemplating all of this, I wouldn't say that things are the same for me. Nobody has any clue how hard it's been for me, both financially and mentally, and I just don't know if I can go back into that state again. I just don't want to do it. It's been physically and emotionally draining, but I also don't want to be termed as selfish and egoistic, and I'm afraid that that's what I'm going to come off as if I decide to leave now. So I'm really confused about whether I should give him a second chance because he has apologized. So WIBTA if I refuse to forgive my husband? Update 1. Okay, so thank you so much to everybody who commented on my post. I went through it all and I decided to speak to my husband. I don't know what's going to come out of it, but I think the least I can do is give him a chance to explain himself. After that, I'll make up my mind whether I want to go through with a divorce or not. Because honestly, 5 years is a very long time. And in fact, we've just been together for 5 years, but we were friends for a much longer time before that. We've been friends with each other since high school, so I've known him for a very long time, and to be very honest, I wouldn't justify his behavior, but I will definitely say that I've spent a lot of my life with this man, and I've dreamt about our future, and even though the past couple of months have been very difficult for me, if he is really willing to change, then I would like to see what he does. My point is, a lot of people in the comments suggested that if I'm really not ready to let this go, then I should look into marriage counseling and give that a try to save my marriage. So maybe that's where we're going to go for now. But all of that depends on what he has to say for himself. It's been a little over a week since I left, a couple of days since I made my post, and we're going to meet each other for dinner this evening. I've not spoken to his family yet, but I have spoken to him, and I've let him know, and he told me that he'll be more than happy to have me back. Of course, I've made it very clear that it's not like I'm coming back permanently today itself. I'm only coming over to meet him, but he hasn't responded to that yet, which is fine, I guess. His family hasn't texted me in the past couple of hours, so I'm guessing that they know I'm going to try and talk to him and sort things out. However, if they expect me to pay for the wedding or contribute to it in the slightest, then they will be sorely mistaken, because I've already made up my mind. I'm not contributing to this wedding at all. If my sister-in-law and her fiancé can afford a wedding that expensive, then by all means, they should have it. But it's clear that they can't, and neither can their parents, so it's not my responsibility to help them out here. This is not a necessity for them. That's just something that they want to splurge on, and I'm not going to support it. Update 2. Hi, so I've just come back from dinner with my husband, and well, I wouldn't say that we were able to solve all our problems over one dinner, but at least things are significantly better now. For now, I think I would say that he seems genuinely sorry about whatever has happened. He told me that for the past year and a half, he's been feeling extremely inadequate, and he's been feeling very underconfident as well about his own abilities. He told me that he's been trying to brainstorm business ideas for quite some time, but nothing was coming to him. So he just sort of gave up on that aspect, and every time I would ask him about it, he would lash out at me because it would only remind him that he was failing at doing the one thing that he had always wanted to do. And even when he came up with some ideas in the end, he let it go because he was not sure if it was going to work or not. And eventually, he just ended up with absolutely nothing to show for the year and a half that he had spent at home. Yeah, he's been helping around with the household chores, but that's not what he had set out to do with his life. And he had been feeling like a total failure, which is why he had been acting like this, which is fair enough, I guess. But at the end of the day, he still had been very selfish and hadn't been thinking about what he was putting me through. And he apologized for that as well. He told me he knew that he was putting me under a lot of undue pressure and that he should be helping out more. And if things were not working out, he should have just gone back to work instead of forcing me to take over something so difficult. Because let's be honest, this fight that we had recently was not just about me not wanting to contribute to his sister's wedding. It was about his behavior for the past year and a half and how it had really made life incredibly difficult for me. The expectation that he had that I was going to contribute to his sister's wedding was something that pushed me off the edge. So that was the catalyst for the fight. But we had been struggling with our marriage for a pretty long time by now, and we finally acknowledged it. Until now, we had only been pretending that things were fine and that if we powered through it, then we would be able to come out of it eventually, but that's not how that works. We have to at least acknowledge and address our problems in order to solve them. And that's something that we have had to learn the hard way. And then we went on to discuss why we had that last fight. My contribution to my sister-in-law's wedding. He told me that it was very unreasonable of him to have asked that of me, but he had his reasons because apparently quite a long time back, around the time we were getting married, he had promised his sister that he had gotten married the way he wanted to, and he was always going to make sure that she got what she wanted as well. It was an emotional promise, and everyone in our family knows that my sister-in-law is the kind of person who's always been very excited about getting married and having kids. So this is very important for her, and I respect that. But in the end, this is not a promise that I had made. So I don't have to live up to it, and neither do I have to go out of my way when I've already done my very best to support my husband financially. And even my husband told me that when he had made that promise to his sister, he had assumed that it would be something doable. But this is insane. Realistically speaking, neither she nor her fiancé comes from a family that can afford this kind of wedding. But in spite of that, my in-laws and her fiancé's parents are doing their best to give her what she wants. She and her fiancé have been together since middle school, so it's a pretty serious relationship, and everyone always knew that they were going to get married. So this is probably going to be her one and only wedding, and I can totally understand why she wants to have such a grand wedding. But I think it's more important to be practical, to make considerations and allowances for your family, and I don't think she's doing that. But anyway, that's between her and her parents, and I told my husband that whatever promise he had made, it was his responsibility to fulfill it and not mine. And the things that he had said to me that day while we were fighting were really hurtful, and I wasn't going to be able to forget that anytime soon. And he told me that he was really ashamed of how he had behaved because it was totally uncalled for, and he was just projecting his own insecurities and failures onto me. And he really wanted to apologize for all of it because I did not deserve it after everything that I had done for him. So it was good. We had agreed on that part at least. And then I told him that I still needed some time because it's not like we can solve all our problems and smooth out everything in just one evening. That's when things kind of started going downhill, and that's why I said that it went well, but not as well as I had expected it to. Because after we had spoken about everything that had happened, I told him that I still needed some time to process things and that I would like to go for marriage counseling. He started saying that all that was not required since we had already spoken about things and I could just come back home and we could try and work things out on our own. He did not seem comfortable with the idea of involving a marriage counselor, and I had to tell him that these are things that we had to do in order to save our marriage, because it was clear that we really needed that kind of help, and the professional might be able to make the situation better for both of us. The last year and a half had been rough, particularly for me, and this is what I wanted, and it was a non-negotiable. He also did not seem very happy about the fact that I had chosen to stay away and live with my parents for a couple of weeks more. And he told me that he really wanted me to come back and move in with him because if we did not spend enough time together, then we wouldn't even be able to solve the problems that we had been having. And while he did have a valid point, I was not ready to move back in yet. I really needed some space, and I made it very clear to him that this was important to me. So he had to respect what I wanted. If we were going to try and make things better for ourselves, he was going to have to start respecting what I wanted instead of constantly just thinking about what he wanted. And that had been the problem all along. I can understand that he has his own feelings and his own opinions about how our marriage should be. But things can't always be his way. He can't always have that my way or the highway mindset because it's not fair to me. And I really told him off for that because just a couple of minutes before we got to that point, he had been acknowledging how his behavior had negatively impacted our marriage, and yet he was behaving the same way again. Anyway, in the end, I guess he realized that this was important to me. So he didn't argue with me much, but I could see that he was not happy about how the discussion had ended. He really wanted me to move back in with him as soon as possible and pretend as if things had gone back to normal. But that's not how it really was, and I was not going to pretend that way either. So anyway, the bottom line is that we have decided to try marriage counseling, and I'm going to start looking for counselors around us. So let's see how this works out for us now. Hey, so a lot of people were not happy with my decision to try and work things out with my husband. And I can understand where that's coming from. But honestly, this is my marriage. Like I said, I really wanted to give it a chance because even if we do end up getting divorced in the long run, at least I'll have the satisfaction of knowing that I gave it my best. I tried my hardest, and yet we were not able to make it work. So at least I'll not have the regret of not having tried at all. I think that's fair enough, and I don't think I deserve to be judged harshly for that. So I would really appreciate it if people were just a tad bit more supportive. Anyway, it's been 3 weeks since my last update, and my husband and I have attended 4 counseling sessions so far, 2 every week for the past 2 weeks. And I really don't know how to explain it, but I think it's been going well enough. However, I don't think it's been going well enough for me to want to return to him. I guess that's the best way that I can put it. I don't really know how to explain it otherwise. I definitely do want things to work out between us, and I'm trying really hard for that to happen, but I don't know, it's just not clicking. At least not right now. So I don't know how long that's going to take. Anyway, even if I do end up dealing better with my problems with my husband, I don't know how I'm going to deal with his family because they have really been getting on my nerves with how involved they are in all of this, because ever since they found out that I had not moved back in with him and forgiven him entirely after our dinner together, they started telling me that I was just wasting our money attending these counseling sessions, and I just needed to move back in, and if we just spent more time with each other, all our problems would automatically go away. I don't really think that they know what they're talking about, and I've been ignoring all their messages and emails because honestly, I don't want to talk to them about it. They don't know enough about my marriage to be commenting on it, and I find it very annoying that they keep pestering me with their opinions on what I should do and what I shouldn't. I have even spoken to my husband about it, and I've even brought it up in our counseling sessions, but he thinks that his family is entitled to their opinions, and this is beyond his control, and he refuses to talk to them about it. So naturally, that's quite frustrating, and I don't know what to do about it, and that's part of the reason why I'm still in 2 minds about what I should do going ahead. Anyway, that's how it is right now. I'm still confused about whether I should go back to him or not. We are still going to continue attending counseling sessions twice a week, at least for now, and I'll keep you guys in the loop. Hey, so we are on week 7 of marriage counseling. I'm still quite disappointed by how things are going. I feel like New issues are cropping up every single time that we attend these counseling sessions. And even though we're trying to meet every week to sort things out, to talk to each other, I feel like every time we talk, it just ends up in a fight. It's not like we end up yelling at each other and screaming in each other's faces. It's not like that. But just bickering, disagreeing, and getting passive aggressive. And it's pretty annoying and draining. And I don't know how it's going to work out for us if we just keep going in circles like this. I'm still living with my parents because I don't see how I can go back to staying with him if I'm still facing issues with him. And now even he's not asking me to move back in with him anymore. So I guess that's not a good sign about how our relationship is going. The only thing that I'm actually thankful for is the fact that his family has stopped bothering me constantly. But that's not because of his interference. I responded to them a couple of days back and I told them that while I respected their opinions, and they are entitled to have them, they are not entitled to keep disturbing me all the time. And I told them that I'm going to do whatever I think is right for my marriage, and they don't have the right to constantly try and intrude. Of course, I wasn't very polite about it in the message because for weeks I had been ignoring them and they had been getting more consistent on what they wanted from me. And it was getting pretty annoying because they were being very demanding and nosy and I didn't like it. And because of the tone of my message, which was quite different from how I usually speak to my in-laws, this sounded like I was reprimanding them. My husband ended up getting into a fight with me over this, and for the past couple of days, we've just been giving each other the silent treatment, and we have a session with our marriage counselor coming up in a couple of days. So I really don't know how it's going to work out. And to be very honest, things are starting to look like they might not work out. So we might be heading towards a divorce. I don't really know anymore. To be honest, even if that's what ends up happening, I don't think I'll feel that bad. And I think I'll just feel relieved because I've tried my best and it's clearly not working. So I just want all of this to blow over soon now. Hi guys, so it's been a month since my last update and unfortunately I don't think I have good news. I guess in the last update itself, I had made it very clear that my husband and I were having trouble reconciling and things were not going well for us. We were trying to find some sort of common ground so that we could find our way back to each other eventually. But I don't think that it has worked out. And in the past couple of days, we've been discussing the idea of getting a divorce back and forth. Honestly, it's very difficult for both of us because it's not like all love has been lost and we hate each other, in which case divorce would have been the most obvious option. And it would have been pretty easy to deal with if that was the case. But unfortunately, we don't want to hurt each other, and inevitably that's exactly what's going to happen. However, we have had to make the very difficult decision of parting ways mutually because clearly we can't seem to make it work anymore. It's been tough, I'm not going to lie, and we have both given it our best shot. But I guess somewhere along the way, both of us realized that we are not right for each other anymore. And it would be better for us to leave this marriage rather than stay trapped in it and be unhappy. So we are going to terminate our counseling sessions, and I've already spoken to a lawyer and I'll be filing for divorce pretty soon. I have discussed the idea of alimony with him because I guess he would be entitled to it since he's unemployed right now. But he has flat out refused to accept any sort of alimony from me, saying that I've already helped him out enough, so I think that's a good thing. And I really do hope that the divorce process is easy, since we don't have a long waiting period in our state. It's going to be heartbreaking, nevertheless. I already know that, but it's something that I'm going to have to go through with because we're just not compatible anymore. I'm just grateful that I have a support system in place for me in the form of my parents and my friends. So far, I had been keeping all the trouble in my marriage a secret from them. But now that things have come to this point, I told them all about what I've been going through, and they've been incredibly helpful in dealing with my emotions, and all of them have been there for me. I'm really happy that I have them by my side at this difficult time. Hey everybody, so a couple of days ago my divorce from my husband was finalized. It has been a difficult process, even though the divorce itself was relatively straightforward. It was the emotional part that was most difficult for both of us. But it's over now. We parted ways with nothing but love and respect for each other, and I hope he finds whatever he's looking for. I hope that in the future things improve for him, because during the divorce, he went back to his old job, the one he hated, because he wanted to be independent. And at this point in time, he had to be, because I was leaving. Anyway, I don't have any hard feelings towards him anymore. I wish the best for him in future, and I hope that even for me, only good things are in store. I think both of us have faced enough trouble, and now we are just looking forward to a better future. I've moved out of my parents' house, and I've moved into my own apartment near my workplace. I'm definitely going to miss my parents. I'm going to miss having them around, but I also need to be independent emotionally. I'm lucky enough to have friends and family by my side, like I said in my last update, and they've been there with me throughout. They've been a pillar of strength and support for me, and I think I really lucked out in that department with the people that I have by my side. So anyway, I'm doing better now, so I thought about posting here and letting everyone know that I'm fine now. Thank you for all the